Hi, this is Ofori, the digital reader, and I thought I'd do a video because basically I'm pretty much going to be trying to read one book the whole month of May, and it's because I kind of fell into a rabbit hole that I really couldn't explain my way out of, and it'll be a very interesting and exciting experience. And that's one thing I'm very happy of since I started YouTubing, is I've really been trying to read a variety of different books. And when I read, my goal is to always be reading. I don't try to worry too much about how many books I'll finish a month. My main goal is just to always be reading and try to do things to stretch my boundaries. So one thing I wanted to do when I, started kind of making some videos in this channel is I wanted to kind of make some lists of 5 books in different areas or genres that I would recommend. So, for example, 5 books that are from people, 5 books that have gentleman rogues in them, 5 books that are fast-paced action. And one of the things I want to do is 5 books that are retellings of classic mythology. So looking at my list, and I kind of had like 4 books I could really recommend, and I was like, let me see what kind of retellings of classic mythology are out there that I can kind of read and see if I like, and if I like it, then I'll make that my 5th book. So I looked at Neil Gaiman's Norse mythology. Wasn't one I could really recommend. I looked at the Winter King, the King Arthur retelling. Absolutely could recommend. And another book that I looked at, and I'm just going to pull this up to kind of give me some help on some of this stuff, is the Palace of Illusions by Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni. And basically it is a retelling of the Mahabharata told from told from a female's point of view. So I said, okay, that sounds cool. So I bought the book, and Monday I figured I'd start to read it. So I cracked the book open, I go through the credits and the preface, and right before I started reading the book, I kind of had to stop myself, and I said, I'm going to read this whole book, and I have no idea what the original story is. And I was, normally I was weaned, being an American, living in America, I was weaned on Western mythology and mythos. So Norse, Irish, Greek, Roman, those type of mythologies you can find in any library when you're young, and they're pretty fantastic. So when I would read retellings of those, and the King Arthur too, when I would read retellings of those, I kind of knew what was different and what they were tweaking. So when I thought about Palace of Illusions, I guess it concerned me a little that I'm going to be reading a retelling, and I have no idea what the original story's about. So I decided to dive into looking into the Mahābhārata, and boy, I wasn't expecting what I found. First, I thought the Mahābhārata was going to be like a bunch of mythological stories, like Bullfinch's mythology, where I could, get some mythological stories. But I kind of realize now that the Mahābhārata is kind of like if you took the Bible and you made it all poems, made it a long epic poem, and then over time people kept adding stuff to it. So it's a mixture of Beowulf, it's a mixture of the Bible, it's a mixture of the Tao. It's kind of like moralities, lessons, then there's some action and adventure going with the story. So it's just a ton of everything mashed into one. So anyway, I'm start trying to find a version, and since the Mahābhārata is old, I figure I'll go to my go-to, which is always the Gutenberg Project. But when I go to the Gutenberg Project, There were just so many different versions. There's translations that is straight translations. Then there's translations that take the poem and put it into prose verse. And then there's abbreviations. I've just really struggled to find something I kind of felt like I could read and I could get through and wasn't too dry or stale or scholarly that I just knew it was going to be a no-go for me. So eventually, looking on the webs and stuff like that, I kind of bumped into what a lot of people are kind of recommending for people like me who I'm not that interested in the religion. I'm not that interested in the philosophy. I'm really much more interested in the nuts and bolts of the story and the heroes and villains and characters of the stories turned into kind of, at least in my mind, what I thought of as kind of the classic mythology stories I read when I was younger and presented kind of like that, with classic mythology tales all kind of connected into a big book. Now, the Mahabharata, it's a huge thing. And I didn't want something that was so condensed that I would just lose a lot. But I did want something that kind of took it, translated it, kind of stripped out some of the philosophy and the religion that was kind of tacked on over the centuries and kind of just helped boil it down to a story of heroes and gods and villains that would kind of click in my mind. And I did find one that that was recommended, and that is Ramesh Menon's 2-volume novelization, and it's called The Mahābhārata, A Modern Rendering, and it's a 2-volume set. Now, I should note, it is 1,500 pages. So even just straight up, just looking at this version is 1,500 pages. And that's one of the reasons I was just like, I want to grow. I want to, broaden my horizons. So I did read Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Romance of the Three Kingdoms comes out at around 600, anywhere from 600 to 800 pages. And this book, this 2-volume novelization from Ramesh Menon, which is 1,500 pages of both. Now I'm going to count them as 2 books. So really this month I'm going to read 2 books, Volume 1 and Volume 2. It will be up there, but I've read some 1,000-page books, before. So it'll be up there. So anyway, I'm kind of excited to do this and kind of get this under my belt. And once I read this, then I feel like I'll be paying honor to the story when I read Palace of Illusions, and the retelling of the way she retells the story will mean a lot more to me. So, like I said, I'm counting it as 2 books, but it'll still be pretty interesting to see if I get through 1,500 pages in a month. So in May, I'm pretty sure I'm just going to be doing 2 books. If I am able to get through these 2 books before the end of May, I'll be pretty amazed, because since I use my reading app Bookshelf, I kind of know my reading speed. And generally, I read around 1,200 to 1,400 pages a month. So this will be pushing it to see if I can get there. But we'll see. Life's all about challenging yourself. So obviously, in June, when I go over the books I read in May, I'll kind of talk about what I thought of it and my feelings on it. Anything else? No, I guess that's it. If you're interested in the Mahabharata and reading it, there actually is kind of like a shorter version that a lot of people recommend. And it is the Mahabharata, a shortened modern prose version of the Indian epic. And it's done by R.K. Narayan. And so I actually thought about getting that one and reading that one. But I felt like I wanted to go for the big dog. I wanted to go ahead and read the full story. And it's one of those things, once I read the full story, then I might read this just to see how they do it. How R.K. Narayan does it. But at least I'd like to have the most complete version that I can stomach or I can get through to read. And, after that, I'll probably take a break. I'm not going to dive into Palace of Illusions next month, but at least I'll have this under my belt. So anyway, that's what I'm going to be doing in May. This is a Fort Murray digital reader. Of course, let me know if you have any comments and questions. And I am hoping that as I've been speaking, I've been popping up some pictures of the books and the stuff I'm talking about and recommending, and maybe even a cool poster here and there of, the Mahābhārata that was, done in the old days. All right, Safari, keep reading.